Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty wild, how just one military action can send shockwaves rippling through the entire global market, and what it might be telling us about a huge shift in global power.
All right, let's kick things off with just one number, 9%. Plus 9%. On January 5th, that's how much Germany's top arms maker, Rheinmetall, jumped in a single day. I mean, that is a huge leap for any stock, let alone one in the defense sector.
So, you gotta ask, right? What on earth could cause such a massive, sudden surge in defense stocks all around the world? Well, to figure this out, we're gonna walk through a scenario that analysts actually use to model these kinds of reactions. And trust me, it's not just about the money here. This is about a potential massive shift in the global order. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the catalyst in this scenario that we're looking at, it's a really dramatic one. Imagine a decisive U.S. strike in Venezuela, one that leads to the overthrow of its leader, Nicolás Maduro. Now, this is exactly the kind of thing analysts look at to understand how markets react to major geopolitical shocks.
And this kind of move, well, it wouldn't be seen as just some regional political issue. No day. Markets all over the world would immediately see this as a signal, a sign of a much bigger, much more assertive change in U.S. foreign policy.
So what would happen next? Well, the financial reaction would be pretty much immediate and, honestly, widespread. It would kick off the second the markets opened up in Europe.
And the scale of this reaction? It would be huge. You've got Germany's Rheinmetall leading the charge with that 9% jump we talked about. But it wasn't just them. It was a rally across the board. Italy's Leonardo and Sweden's Saab, the fighter jet maker, they both shot up 6%. The entire European defense sector just lit up.
And get this, the rally didn't stop in Europe. Not at all. It just kept rolling right into Asia as their markets opened. Japan's ISEI Corp also popped 9%. You had industrial giants like Mitsubishi and Kawasaki right behind them. Then, over in South Korea, Hanwha Aerospace jumped 7%. I mean, this was a truly global thing. And of course, the U.S. firms were going to get in on this. Major players like Northrop Grumman, they jumped a solid 4%. Lockheed Martin was up too. And all of this pushed a key investment fund that tracks the whole sector, the ITA, up in a big way. And just real quick, if you're not familiar, an ETF is basically just a basket that holds a bunch of different stocks. So in this case, all the big names in aerospace and defense. So here's the really crucial part. It wasn't just one or two stocks going crazy. That ETF we just talked about, that basket holding all the major U.S. players, it hit a brand new all-time record high during the day. That tells you everything. It shows this massive widespread confidence from investors in the future of the entire defense industry. Okay, but why? Why would this one hypothetical action cause such an enormous global reaction? Well, analysts think it's because an event like this would signal the dawn of a completely new era. Fawaz Chaudhry from Fulcrum Asset Management, he put it really bluntly. He said, we're talking about a world trying to shift to a new era. An era where you basically use hard power military assets and go and take control. So not just a policy change, but a whole new strategy for geopolitics. So you might be wondering, what exactly is this hard power he's talking about? Well, it's pretty straightforward. It's a way of doing foreign policy that uses military and, economic muscle to influence other countries. It's the opposite of soft power, which is all about diplomacy and cultural influence. And he's not alone in thinking this. Eofin Devitt over at Moneda, she completely agrees. She even called this kind of strategy a form of gunboat diplomacy. Her take? New year, new world order. I think we all have to accept that. And that acceptance, she says, is what's going to drive all this precautionary spending on defense. And this new reality, this big shift towards hard power, well, it has some very real, very immediate consequences for military spending around the globe. I mean, this is a total 180, a complete reversal of how the market was feeling. Think about it. Just a few weeks before an event like this, the idea of peace in Ukraine was actually making defense stocks fall. And now, boom, one unilateral action sends them to the moon. It's just whiplash. And Fawaz Chaudhry, again, he connects these dots for us. He predicts that an action like this would only reinforce that trend. He says it's going to lead to more military spending, more rearmament of Europe, of Asia. Basically, the argument is, when the U.S. acts this decisively, other countries feel like they have no choice but to build up their own defenses. So when you boil it all down, analysts see a few key things pushing this whole trend forward. First, you've got this more assertive U.S. foreign policy.
Second, you're seeing other countries increase their military budgets. I mean, look at Germany's huge spending hike. And third, there's just this global feeling, this mindset of precautionary spending, because the world just feels a lot less stable right now.
Okay, so if we really are entering this new era of hard power, what does that actually mean? What are the bigger long-term implications here? Because the ripples from an event like this just keep spreading out.
Yeah, and according to Stephen Dover at the Franklin Templeton Institute, this is definitely not some isolated reaction. He thinks an action like this just reinforces a trend that was already happening, a trend that really started with the war in Ukraine. It's pushing more and more countries to invest in their own national security.
And that brings us to a really crucial question for global stability, right? If this happens, will other countries with their own territorial ambitions, will they feel emboldened? Will they look at this and think, hey, we can do that too? Does this set a whole new precedent for how nations go after what they want?
It just raises this whole cascade of really tough questions for the entire global system. Like, what happens to the US dollar's role as the world's safe haven currency? Do we start to see international institutions and laws get weaker? And how do all the alliances we've known for decades, how do they shift in a world that's suddenly defined by hard power? So at the end of the day, what this whole exercise really shows us is that one single headline can be so much more than just news. It can be a forecast, a glimpse into the future of global power. The real key for investors, and honestly for all of us, is just knowing how to read the signs.